I've been a guest on a combined 8 hours of other people's shows since my last show. 4 on Warhammer Weekly, where we did a deep dive into Cities of Sigmar, and 4 on Randcast with Mr. Meth and Frank on the Rocks, where we talked about OBR, GW products, the future of releases, and fighting games. But you know what? Like getting home from a vacation, sometimes it's nice to be on your own show. I don't think I take time enough to say how much I really appreciate. Alright, shut the fuck up. Ogre rules have started coming in. But way more importantly than that, Beastclaw Raider rules have started coming in, and my excitement is only rivaled by my concern, because that's my personality. Now we have official confirmation that the thing I wanted to happen the least has come to pass. My army, which was its own independent thing, and had its own book when I started the game, has been fully absorbed by something else. This is no Orc war clans, where they at least kept the dignity of being called their own armies in the book and separated inside, with a big optional Big Wah style army mix, but full-on relegated to sub-faction boxes in a tent book like Troggoth's in Gloomspite or the Thunderscorn of Beast of Chaos. Look, freedom is a core value of the Alphastuns, and I'm just saying it's wrong when a heartless governing body ignores your calls for independence with an iron fist. Even outside factions are towing the line by instantly caving to pressure, or looking the other way on human rights violations for decades, all in the name of money and a market share of a massive population ready to consume. You know, it's kind of like Beastclaw or Hong Kong. Hey, it's ya boy, HeyWoah. You know, we sure do have a lot of zany fun on my channel with the memes and hyperbole, but sometimes I can get a little carried away and be misunderstood. I would like to clear up some confusion, because I definitely did not just compare the Hong Kong situation to a children's game of plastic army men. There isn't even anything to really talk about because Hong Kong is universally regarded as a loving and willing part of the People's Republic of China. And also I'm saying this of my own volition, and these are my own words. Please continue to be entertained by my Western antics and personality, and my Patreon, which is patreon.com/HeyWoah, that's English letters HeyWoah, accepts currency conversions. Please consider picking up the game. Shipping friendless spells and terrain features probably pretty cheap. Anyway, let's get reactions out of the way. I'm more than 3 inches away from these rules, so I'm hungry to learn about them. First up, might makes right. When determining control of an objective, each ogre counts as 2 models instead of 1, and each ogre monster counts as 10 models instead of 1. Looks like objectives are back on the menu, boys. I mean, this is what we all wanted, this is what we all suggested. I have to give a special conciliatory shout out to Doom and Darkness, sorry man. You know what, you really made a good point. He didn't want Large and in Charge, which is what we called it, and I think we had the better name. But you know what? Credit where credit is due. Sam's system is simply better than mine on the table. We had wounds remaining, which made more granular sense, but just always being 2, and then just always being 10, got to keep it snappy on the table, so I respect the efficiency. But anyway, Doom didn't want this. He didn't want this at all. Because it's supposed to be their downside. That's their excuse for being, like, overpowered rules-wise. And, you know what? He made a really good point. And he almost brought me over to his side. He did bring me over to his side for Gutbusters, not for Beastclaw, though. But here it is. We have it. I'm very happy. I'm pleased, especially the Beasts one. Beast models counting as 10 really helps Stonehorn Beast Riders and Thundertusk Beast Riders have a job at all. Monsters as battle line is something a few armies have now, and it's always a bad idea because of what battle line is. Like, your battle line has a job. You know, people would take battle line for the most part if they weren't required to, because it's just such a good tactic to have big units of gummy men who, you know, some of them are fast, some of them are anvils, you know, whatever, but objective securers, in other words. Having monsters as objective securers is terrible because they're bad at holding the objectives. You can drop 5 liberators next to them 3 inches away and then the point is just gone and you don't even need to fight. 10 guys can get stuck in and they can get all but 2 and the objective's still not yours. So, I mean, you're still going to be outnumbered all the time, especially if you're using monsters. You know, maybe someday in the future people will be complaining about 11 models standing there looking at them in the same way that we complain about 2. It's just a really smart change. I'm a big fan. Next up we have Ravenous Brutes. An ogre exists in one of two states. It is either ravenous with hunger, or stuffing its mouth with food. If an ogre unit is more than 3 inches from any enemy units, it is hungry. If an ogre unit is within 3 inches of enemy units, it is eating. Add 2 to the move characteristic of a unit that is hungry, and add 2 to the bravery characteristic of a unit that is eating. This is wonderful rules writing. I love it. It's clear, it's distinct, there's no middle ground, it makes sense thematically, and it starts building the idea, even when you're reading the rules, in your head about what these guys are all about. Also, movement is king, and I wanted some excuse to make ogres 8-inch move. But look how they wrote the flavor text here. An ogre exists in one of two states. And just the way they worded that just got my head going on this. And so I made a meme. Ogre scientist explains hungry but also eating superposition theory to colleague Chamon2145. Sigmar aftermath colorized. So yeah, I think, they only exist in one of two states, but once ogres and really the mortal realms have advanced, they really get to a level of technology similar to that of Shadowrun. I think quantum ogre scientists will be able to crack the code on quantum hungry and eating superposition and get both of these buffs at the same time. Keep you posted. Then there's some Beast Claw battle traits. This one's called Grasp of the Everwinter. This one I was really excited to see, because the concept of the Everwinter has huge potential for all sorts of possible effects on the game, and our original one in the old book was trash. In fact, memory lane a little bit, this is what it used to do. So it had 3 options. Reroll save rolls a 1, not so great. 3-inch move, the best. Tiny chance of mortal wounds if you're still in combat in your hero phrase, trash. Problem was, it was random, which removes your ability to make decisions, which was sad. And Frostbite had like a 6% chance of working total anyway, because you had to roll a 5 or a 6 and then a 6 for anything to even happen at all. And I have had 2 opponents so far who commented after our games that if it had a 100% chance of working, it would still suck. And I agree. Essentially, your allegiance abilities in the hero phase were roll a die, 66% of the time, basically nothing happens, and you move on. Then on the opponent's turn, they're casting spells and using command abilities and targeting a unit with some overpowered bullshit buff that cost no resources and automatically worked, like Sippy Cup, maybe sometimes teleport a unit, and then I'd get back from the 7-Eleven with my coffee I had time to buy during their hero phase, and we'd proceed into the movement phase. So now this is what Grasp does. To wage war against the Beastclaw Raiders is to battle the brutality of winter itself. The magical ice storms that follow the Beastclaw tribes can bring death to those who face them in battle, as flesh and bone splinter in the supernatural cold. Okay, alright, we're cold themed. At the start of your hero phase, roll 1 dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of any friendly Beastclaw Raider units. If the roll is equal to or less than the number of the current battle round, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. It's trash. That's really too bad. It's really too bad that this sucks. I'm not saying this sucks like this ability is not powerful, although that is exactly what I'm saying. What I mean is that it's a late game grindy ability that requires your dudes to survive combat 1 or sometimes 2 turns before it rolls around to your hero phase. That being said, perhaps the army is super durable like Fire Slayers or Nurgle now, and you really will just invite them into your frozen tar pit and slowly chill them to death with mortal wounds. But yeah, if this was 100% chance, it might be more interesting. But since it's so rare and it's only a D3, I'm unimpressed. Then they give us the stats for a scrap launcher, and I'm of 2 minds about the scrap launcher. First of all, Noblars are stupid. Did you know that Noblars aren't even ogres? They're instead tiny, stupid-looking things instead of big, sweet-looking things. And so I have no excitement for them at all. But also, I hope they're not good, because if they're, like, too good, then I'm going to have to play one and, like, convert it to have ogres or something on it instead. And I don't want to have to do that. However, they've given us just its missile weapon profile, so we don't know any of its other rules right now. It probably has a Rhinox charge. We can assume a bunch of other stuff, but the range profile it shows is Deadly Rain of Scrap. Piles of Old Scrap, it's got a 6 to 36 inch range. It's got 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, rend nil, damage D3. You can add 1 to hit rolls, so it hits on 2s, and increase the damage to D6 for attacks with Piles of Old Scrap if the target unit has 10 or more models. I'm very happy to report that this is trash, and against units of 10 or more models, it is still trash. Good. I didn't want to play with one. Nobblers are fucking stupid. Everyone just wants the Sky Cannon to be good instead. So, holding out. That's fine. I'll take that one. But we also get to see an Iron Guts War Scroll in one of the product shots, where you can just barely make out all the stuff for it. So it looks like the wheel's the same, 4 wounds, 6 move, 4 up save, bravery 7. And the important part here you can make out, hits on 3s at last. This is huge, it's really what they needed, and it's an exciting change. They also have gulping bites, which seem bad, but who knows what their extra rules are. So over the years, a lot of Ogre players have said, perhaps recklessly, that, man, if only we could just hit on 3s, it would solve all our problems. Who cares about the other abilities? And unfortunately, it looks like they called our bluff. We're hitting on 3s, and all the other abilities on their War Scrolls are trash. Rune Maw Bearer makes extra people run away when they fail a Battle Shock test, but Battle Shock tests are generally not even taken, because this is Age of Sigmar. And in addition, each time the unit is affected by a spell or endless spell, you can roll a die, and on a 6-up, that's ignored. Trash. And down to the Iron Guts, you have to trigger it by an ogre running away, i.e. failing a Battle Shock test. Therefore, this sucks. You can't just use it whenever you want to. You have to have lost something already. So that's really too bad. It's too bad their abilities are garbo. But at least they're hitting on 3s. Maybe that really is enough. So the other all-arounder battle trait for ogres is called Trampling Charge. After an ogre or Rhinox unit has made a charge move, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 of this unit and roll a number of dice equal to the unmodified charge roll for that move. Man, that's disappointing. I wish it was modified charge roll. Why don't you let me build around something like that? It's really too bad. I was hoping they'd give me an avenue for like interesting list building to be like, hey, I could take cogs and then roll higher charges, even though they're way too expensive and still probably not worth it. But it gives you a decision to make. But anyway, unmodified charge roll, so 7, you gotta assume. Add 2 to each roll if the ogre unit that made the charge move has 8 or more models or is a monster. For each 6-up, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So you're looking for 4s for monsters or big units and 6s otherwise. So you assume 7, right? Because it's the average on 2d6 for your unmodified charge. Average number of 6s on 7 dice is between 0 and 2 are the most likely outcomes, with a 10% chance at 3 or more. So this is basically the same damage as Mournfang currently do with their Mournfang charge, with half the time less and half the time more depending on natural charge rolls. But really this is roughly the same, except with a longer bell curve of whatever on either end. You're rolling more dice to basically have the same result, which is something I'm always not thrilled about, so whatever for Mournfang. But for monsters or big units, average number of 4-ups expected on 7 dice is 2 to 5. Again, fluctuating depending on natural charge rolls. I consider this also a bit of a nerf to the Stonehorn charge, despite a higher potential top end if you're super lucky, because the whole reason this was good is because consistency is king here, especially in an army as inconsistent in all ways as Beastclaw was. The fact that you could just ram into something and you didn't have to roll to see if you could roll or any bullshit like that. It's just d6 mortal wounds. Equal chance of all the numbers. No rolling to see if you get to roll it. No rolling a million dice and picking out whatever so that the bell curve is really flat. It's just like run into something, d6 mortal wounds. Fast, simple, move on with your life. Now we're rolling more dice for a similar long-term result with more chances of getting nothing, basically, and more chances of getting like some slightly higher number. Yeah, it just takes more time for the same effect that's like slightly less consistent, and so I don't like it. I'll take it, it's fine, but I like the old one better. Now, if Stonehorns kept their charge damage on their War Scroll, I will officially rescind my statements, and I'll be very pleased. That's certainly not what has happened, I'm sure. And then also we have Earth-Shattering Charge, which seems to be pulled from the Stonehorns War Scroll, because Earth-Shattering Charge is what the what the D6 Mortal Wounds thing used to be. Enemies are crushed and trampled beneath the unstoppable ferocity of a Stonehorns charge. Cool. Add 1 to the damage inflicted by attacks made with this model's rock-hard horns and crushing hooves if this model made a charge move in the same turn. Okay. So So it's no longer mortal wounds on the charge on the war scroll. It's +1 damage to your attacks, well, the mount attacks. This is awesome. Yeah, +1 damage is great. They were only good on the charge before. They're probably still only good on the charge now. That's fine. You know, you just got to play better and get those charges and pre-measure and make sure your opponent can't get you. And, you know, it's that dance early game to make sure you're not going to get taken, right? This is sweet. I'm excited. Yeah, 4 damage Stonehorn attacks, D3 +1 if the damage values are the same for Crushing Hooves. I hope they're not. So the little rules paragraph around Earth-Shattering Charge says, a single Stonehorn Beast Riders unit can potentially inflict a staggering 42 wounds in melee, if you're very lucky, and an Earth-Shattering Charge can boost that up to 54. And so, quick math, it seems like they have 12 attacks, because 42 out of 54, and if each attack is getting +1 damage, well, but is that different? Is that changed? Let's take a look. This is the current Stonehorn Beast Riders combat profile. On average, against a 4-up save, they do 4 to 12 damage, with big gaps of unreliable randomness since they hit on 4s. Quite disappointing and currently not worth playing either offensively or defensively. Right now, their absolute maximum top-end damage, if every random number of attacks is max, every hit roll hits, every wound roll wounds, every save is failed, and every random damage value is max, is indeed 42 currently. The same as in the article. But with hitting on 4s and random number of attacks plus random number of damage, the odds of maximum damage actually happening broke every dice probability calculator I tried to use online, resulting in either just returning a 0 or actually saying error. But an estimation with probably a more likely outcome that ignores needing to get the numbers in the right order, but balances all the required natural 6s against some 3s to hit and unknown armor values that need failing, and simply assumes that all the rolls need to be at least a 4-up, is 5.55 times 10 to the negative 17, or about 1 in 18 quadrillion. For a sense of scale, 18 quadrillion is roughly the number of seconds that have passed since the beginning of time. 13.7 billion years since the Big Bang, times 365, times 24, times 60, times 60, which is 4.32 times 10 to the 17, which is pretty close to 5.55 times 10 to the negative 17, scale-wise. The article defines this as, quote, very lucky, and I concur, though I feel it might be understating it. Also, BCR players were hoping for more consistency, and so I hope bullshit like random number of attacks plus random number of damage in the same fucking profile has been done away with. I really hate that. I really hate that. But Earth-Shattering Charge is sweet. I'm down. I'm down with it. Let's go. So speaking of Stonehorn Beast Riders, on the note of war scrolls that desperately need rewriting because they suck, let's hop over to Gutbusters for a second with a look at the new Lead Belcher's war scroll. I see that their range is still 12 inches, which sucks, so they aren't a good ranged unit nearly just from that. And they still have a random number of shots that hit on 4s, which is also still super disappointing. And their extra shots rule still has them stand still in a game where movement is the most important thing. Full-sized cannons that shoot swords and axes apparently still only do 1 damage somehow. That's great. This is trash. They gave them 1 bite attack and improved their melee to hit and sent them on their way, which is hugely disappointing. This was your chance to revisit the mistakes of the original GA Destruction book and make a real effort. And if we're just talking about this war scroll specifically, this is phoned in. It had an obvious problem keeping it from being viable, and they buffed the part of it that has nothing to do with its job, which it still sucks at. Not a good sign for my army of guys who desperately need real and thoughtful war scroll reimagining, like Stonehorn Beast Riders. I swear if Stone Skeleton is just a 6-up shrug, I will jump out a window. A first story window, I'll be fine, but they'll get the point. This is HeyWoah. He bought 2 boxes of Lead Belchers in advance because he wanted some cool range in his Beastclaw Raider army and figured no way would they fuck this up. Now he's using them all for conversion bits instead. Don't be like HeyWoah. Wait for the rules to come out before you buy. Also, wait until after the FAQ comes out so you won't be like corn players who almost had a ranged unit worth a damn for 2 weeks. Starting to get trepidation about this release. Okay, the more rules start trickling in now. We got command traits. And these are like pulled from whatever the list of 6 for each type of thing. And one of them are traits of the Butcher. God damn, look at this model. It's so bad. It's so bad. Oh, wow. They looked at this and they're like, yeah, our current sculptors just can't do any better. Like, there's no potential for a Butcher model that looks better than this. We've reached it. This is peak Butcher. You might not like it, but this is peak Butcher model. What a tragedy. Alright, build your own Butchers it is. Spell Eater. There's nothing that this Butcher cannot eat. Even magic provides a tasty meal. Cool. Each time this general dispels an endless spell, you can heal any wounds allocated to them. If this general has no wounds allocated to them, you can instead add 1 to the general's wound characteristic until the end of the battle. In addition, each time this general dispels an endless spell, they can cast 1 additional spell that phase. That's cool. So, you might say that this is too niche, and so you shouldn't take it. And you would be 100% right. You should never take this. However, if you're going to give something a niche application, it should get a great reward from doing that thing, right? And so healing you up to full and refunding you your spell back is proper. Also, it's possible this army has like endless spells that hurt you to activate them, have some cool effect, and then you can devour them, and it's kind of a combo. Like, that could be pretty sweet. Hi, future HeyWoah here. I'm recording this as an addendum because I watched the Warhammer TV reveal where somebody asked them if we had any endless spells, and they said no. So, yeah, Spell Eater, there isn't any potential combo with it any longer aside from, geez, I don't know, that Flaming Skull thing maybe. So no, there aren't any in-house cool combos with our endless spells because we don't have any. So yes, this sucks. But it's at least interesting. It's like interesting, there's applications for it, and the benefit you get is pretty big, but yeah, it sucks. Then we have Traits of the Tyrant. An eye for loot. You can reroll hit and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by this general that target an enemy hero with an artifact of power. Jesus Christ, can you get more specific? So it's only melee weapons, and only enemy heroes, and only enemy heroes with an artifact of power. What, on a Tuesday? Alright. This thing is trash. It's too specific, and so it's trash. That's a shame. But it did inspire my meme. You can reroll hit and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by this general that target an enemy hero with an artifact of power that isn't a monster if their general has been slain and the battle is taking place in Akshi on a Tuesday if their name is Jim. R.I.P. Jim. This is one of those rules texts that you're reading it and it's a roller coaster. It starts out at the very top of the track. Oh, reroll hit and wound rolls? Yeah, alright, I'm in. Let's go. For attacks made by melee weapons, okay, it's just a little bit, like, who can, you know, we're melee, it's fine, you know, we're fine, it's fine, but it starts wobbling a little bit. Made by this general that target an enemy hero, and then it just starts careening down the hill with an artifact of power, and then it just smashes into an abandoned mine shaft, and you're dead. Yeah, yikes. Even if this was just target an enemy hero, it would still be too specific to ever be takeable, but then they tacked on this with an artifact of power onto it, just to make sure that writing this was a complete waste of ink. Then there's Traits of the Hunter, and there's the hideously ugly old Hunter sculpt that we thought, or rather hoped we were getting an update on, but no such luck. You'll have to build your own. Skull Packmaster. When you use this general's Master of Ambush ability, up to 2 units of Frost Sabers can join this general in ambush instead of 1. Interesting. So this tells us some information. It used to be that you would have to take a battalion to be able to have this guy deep strike guys in. And that was offensive because Warp Grinder weapon teams exist, and Isharan Soul Scryers exist, and Rune Smiters exist, and all of the deep strike characters in the whole game that cost 120 odd points could bring generally almost anything along with them, even behemoths in their army, and in the Soul Scryer's case, 2 units. Like 60 Namarti Thralls you could bring with you, and that's fine. But the Beastclaw Hunter could only bring cats, and only if you had a battalion. It's like, why? Anyway, so it seems like he can bring 1 unit of cats along with him on his War Scroll, which is cool. That's nice. And now with this thing, you can bring 2. So, you know, if you're going for somewhat of a Frost Saber themed army, then, well, first of all, you're doing a lot of conversions, and you're buying a lot of Fenrisian wolves, but that's neither here nor there. And you get some more speed bumps to come with you, which is nice. Now, it's possible Frost Sabers are good now instead of just purely speed bumps. They're basically Aether Wings on foot. But we'll see how their rules play out. We're not sure what they are yet. And I saved the best for last. Not really the best, but just the one I care about the most, because it's the Beastclaw one. Traits of the Beastclaw. Nomadic Raider. You can reroll wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by this general, including their mount. Cool. Look at Beastclaw over here breaking those core rules. I like it. I like it. Well, this general is wholly within enemy territory. See that? So that does make it a little more specific, but this doesn't ruin it for me at all. Generally speaking, your Stonehorns just about teleport to the enemy territory and stay there most of the game. So this is cool. How fun. But of these 4 traits, Beastclaws is the only good one. I'm not used to saying those words. I still wouldn't take it, probably, because I prefer defensive traits, and we may or may not already reroll 1s to wound on the charge, and so it would really just be rerolling 2s mostly. But still, I don't know how to feel about this. It's strange to have the Beastclaw one be the only good one, but I'm going to have to get used to this feeling, I guess. What if, instead of the War Herd of Beasts of Chaos, we are the Gloomspite of Gloomspite? You know what I mean? Like, what if, in one of these big soup books, we are actually the good soup? Like, we're the big chunky meats, you know? And then the Gutbusters are all in there being fucking carrots and potatoes. Who wants that? Also, why do I call it a soup book? Didn't these guys used to be the same army? Isn't that not fair? Isn't the actual definition of soup when you take factions that have nothing to do with each other and just shove them in the same book? Well, that's a definition of soup. There's lots of definitions of soup. I would go so far as to say that the real definition of soup, an army book that features lots of units that the person calling them soup doesn't like. I mean, that's basically the definition of soup at this point. But to me, they're soup. I walked into this game when the first GHB came out for Age of Sigmar. And so Beastclaw Raiders was its army. From my perspective, yes, they were souped in. Now, old dudes who played some other game that isn't this game wouldn't call them soup, because apparently they used to be a big army, but I guess they are in this game now too, so I should let it go. What else do we have here? Also, they mentioned butchers and slaughtermasters. What's a slaughtermaster? I can click on it. Oh, it's just a butcher. God damn, this thing looks so ugly, and not like good ugly. I mean, Guo looks ugly, but he's fantastic. This thing looks ugly and just embarrassing. Like, this model looks so fucking bad. It's so dumb. He's so fucking hideous. Like, derpy garbage like this guy is what kept me from liking Gutbusters when I approached the game in the first place in 2016. Really sad to see no new sculpts to replace ancient fine-cast Garbo. Oh yeah, we get a terrain piece. It is called the Great Maw Pot, and it looks kind of dumb, but I'm gonna chain it to the back of a Thunder Tusk if the base size is right, and then it will look awesome. Ogres is gonna be an army where you really have to convert a lot of stuff. That's just the name of the game. As you guys know, I've been working on Choose Your Army V3. This is one of those armies that's gonna have the special tag on it. On one hand, it's gonna be a joy for people who really like personalizing their army and customizing things, but on the other hand, I think it's going to be a bit of a deterrent for people who just like to buy amazing looking models and then just paint them up straight away, because default, most of the Finecast Ogre range is so stupid looking that you're simply just going to have to build your own. I mean, look at this shit. It's so dumb. It's so fucking stupid. So yeah, it's either a really good thing or a really bad thing, really depending on what kind of hobby person you are. I mean, I suppose you could like what they look like if you used to play the old game and you grew up with them or something, but coming into it fresh, it's going to be hard to like some of this stuff. But anyway, what does it do? Back to the Maw Pot, Battle Broth. A great Maw Pot is said to be either full or empty. Look at this dynamic one thing or another thing like a light switch so there's no confusion. Good work. Good work, Sam. At the start of the battle, it is full. In your hero phase, one friendly ogre hero within 6 inches of a full Great Maw Pot can spend all the Great Maw Pot's magic. If they do so, you can heal D3 wounds allocated to each friendly ogre unit wholly within 36 of the Great Maw Pot. That is a big range. It is wholly within, but dude, 36 inches. Roll separately for each unit. Once the Great Mawpot's magic has been spent, it is empty. And so, the way this is written really goes out of its way to constantly be saying full or empty. So certainly there are mechanics to be able to refill it. Otherwise, it would just say once per game, right? So, yeah, I can see this is interesting. I like it. I potentially like it. Healing in this game is not terribly useful because of the high potential for things to just die outright, since everyone does so much fucking damage. It seems like a lot of things in this army are really banking on the fact that your healing is going to matter at all. And so I wonder if armor values and or ward saves, if we have any of either, are going to be up to snuff enough to actually keep us alive for the healing to work, or if it's going to be kind of a failed mechanic where you're supposed to be healing your guys and surviving and just kind of like being there on points and stuff, but they all have 5-up saves and everyone just fucking kills them all with their witch elves and their Hearthguard berserkers and their Terrorgeists and their Velazadas and their Morsar Guard and all the rest. Because otherwise it's just like, so I got my 9 ogres here, and they're charged by some Keeper of Secrets who's double piling in, and then they're all dead. And it's like, oh, but they had bite attacks that could have healed with, and they had this Mawpot that could have healed with, and you had this prayer that could have healed a D3. It's like, yeah, but they have a 5-up save, so they're fucking dead. Like, this is why Endless Legions is a thing. Anyway, the Mawpot. I can see some interesting uses for the Mawpot. Like, I'm thinking in my head, so imagine there's a way to build your army or things you can do to double down on refilling the pot over and over. I'd be interested if this was like a central mechanic with various ways to satisfy it. Thinking about, like, imagine healing up 3 Thunder Tusks every turn behind 96 wounds worth of Gluttons. Like, that's cool. Boy, would it be cool to have mechanics you could build around. I'm excited. I'm excited if that's the case. But wait, there's more. Vessel of the Gulping God. Add 1 to casting or unbinding rolls for ogre wizards while they are within 1 inch of a great Mawpot from your army. Good. Alright, well, here's the bonus to cast that we desperately needed. Everything's turning up. See, it's all kind of coming together. Man, it could be that this book might not suck. Can you imagine? They also came out with some lores. So we got Ogre Mawtribes, we got the lore of the gut magic, and these are the dudes that I think look stupid, and I've had to ally them in for 2 years, because hit bonuses are too useful. And I hate doing it because I hate them, but you have to. Kinda. Although I think Fungoid Cave Shamans were better for the last year, and I had been doing that with a cauldron. But what do we got? Blood Feast. Blood Feast has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly ogre unit that is not a monster. Stopped reading there. Okay, on to the next one. I'm serious. I stopped reading there. I don't give a fuck anymore. No, I'm kidding. We're going back to it. That is wholly within 18 inches of the caster and visible to them. Add 1 to the attack's characteristic of the unit's melee weapons until the start of your next hero phase. Awesome. Hey, look. It's a buff like most armies have. That's amazing. We have now our first buff ever, basically, that you can try to do on purpose. You still have to roll to it. It's kind of hard to cast. Sick. Like, okay, it doesn't work with my big monsters. That's fine. Not everything needs to work with my big monsters. It's a big book after all. Put that shit on some Iron Guts. Invite your opponent to Pound Town. Then we have Lore of the Sun Eater. Oh, cool. We have Firebelly Ogres get their own spell lores. That's cool. Tongue of Flame. Tongues of Flame has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit that has 5 or more models that are within 18 of the caster and visible to them. Until the start of your next hero phase, each time that unit finishes any type of move, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. That's cool. It's too bad you can't put it on a hero, but they thought of that. Can't be too good, right? Gotta be fat middle. That is movement, charge, and pile-in. This is like a little, like the tiniest minor punishment for the multiple pile-in guys, because they're going to take an extra D3 from that. This is cool. I kind of like it. The range is a tad short, but 18's has become kind of the average range in the whole game for debuffs now. So, For the most part, if you're outside of 18, you're probably reasonably safe from debuffs unless you're playing against cities. Then they can get you anywhere in the entire table, no question. But yeah, this spell's actually pretty cool. I dig it. And then the Beastclaw Raiders, because we're priests. They said on Warhammer TV, we don't have any wizards in Beastclaw, we are more shamanistic and have priests, which is how it was in the lore. So I'm pleased that they agree. And there's Call of the Blizzard. This prayer is answered on a 4-up. I already don't like it, but let's... Nah, I'm kidding. Prayer is answered on a 4-up. Ouch. If this prayer is answered, pick one friendly unit of Icefall Yetis within 18 inches of the model, chanting this prayer that is visible to them. I see that it says within instead of wholly within. That's great. You can return one slain model to that unit. Well, this one I'm of two minds about again. Yetis are the best unit in the army that isn't a Frostlord on Stonehorn with Ethereal exactly. And so, for the last whatever, I've been playing with a whole bunch of Yetis because you have to. Their 6-inch pylon is too good, and that 2 make anything else worth it. But everything else is really bad. In the grand scheme of things, they're just okay, but you have to run a bunch of them. This thing returns one to a unit which, as it stands, is useless because their save is a 6-up, so whenever anyone fights them, they're all dead. It's just that you can, like, force people to activate by having cats there, so they have to kill them, and then you pile in with Yetis and strike, and then, like, it's, you know, maybe it's your turn, you're always retreating and running, so you can move around stuff and pile back in. You're kind of saving them from being attacked because of their pile-in thing, because they're just exploded, and wiped out completely if anyone ever touches them. So, like, returning them isn't too powerful since they're always wiped out, but perhaps their war scroll has changed, so who knows. I'm just happy we have lores at all, and that there's probably more, and that those are good. And I took a gamble on this video. I could have released it yesterday, and rode the wave of of interest about this, but I waited one extra day, gambling on the fact that we would get sub-faction focuses like OBR did, and we did, so got them. Let's talk about them. First of all, we have the Gutbuster Mawtribes. Meat Fist Mawtribe. It seems to focus on ogre gluttons, so they say, and they have an ability called the Unstoppable Feast. You can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. If you do, pick one friendly Meat Fist hero. Until the end of that phase, add one of the attacks characteristic, of friendly Meat Fist ogre gluttons. Okay, so only your battle line. Gulping Bite, so not even their weapons, okay, that are wholly within 18 of a hero. You cannot pick the same unit to benefit from this. Wow. Man, Gulping Bites don't look very good, but I wonder what their special rules are. This seems super limited. It's like, add one to the attack characteristic of only your battle line and only their worst attack, and you can't do it more than once. It's like, okay, that's not exciting whatsoever. However, I don't know, maybe they're, because on the Lead Belcher War Scroll we saw that the bite's just like 1 bite, 3s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. It's got to have some sort of special rule that probably has to do with healing, right? So, I mean, we'll just have to see. Unstoppable Feast so far seems real bad, but we don't know the rules on Gulping Bites, so I suppose I'll let that one go for the future. Food for thought. At the start of your hero phase, if this general is eating, you gain 1 additional command point. This sucks. This actually just sucks. If the command trait that you choose is not defensive, you probably want to keep him out of combat. I mean, there's plenty of command traits in the game that have you just start with an extra D3 command points, and those are strictly superior than this crap. It's only at the start of your hero phase, not each hero phase. It's only if he's in danger, so it's risky. All the ones that just say on a 4-up you get a command point, those are better, and those are, like, not terribly exciting. So yeah, Meat Fist Mawtribe seems garbage, but then again, we don't know what Gulping Bite does, so who knows. Then there's Blood Gullet Mawtribe. For the ogres of the mortal realms, eating raw flesh and drinking blood act as prayers to the Gulping God, empowering the gastromantic energy, that's a new one, of their dark shamans. None amongst the Mawtribes are more adept at gut magic than the Blood Gullet. This is so gross. Alright. Heralds of the Gulping God. Blood Gullet Butchers know 1 extra spell from the lore of gut magic. In addition, friendly Blood Gullet Butchers can attempt to cast 1 extra spell in your hero phase. Ooh, look at this. It's good. Look at that. Butchers are big boy spellcasters now. They know 2 spells. That's twice the spells that 300-point Tree Lord Ancients know. Embarrassing. Man, how quickly he turns arrogant when his shitty guys get one thing, you might say. Well, you know what? I've been waiting a long time. Let me have this. Splatter Cleaver. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. At the end of the combat phase, if any wounds inflicted by that weapon were allocated to an enemy model and not negated, you can heal D3 wounds allocated to each friendly Blood Gullet Ogre that is wholly within 12 of the bearer. Roll separately for each unit. Cool. This is cool. The Splatter Cleaver is a wonderful name for this. It really brings to mind what's exactly happening. Like, you hit the guy and he, like, explodes. You know? He explodes like in Quake, where you're just gibs flying everywhere, and the dudes are, like, grabbing the giblets like you just threw them a beer at a concert. And then, yeah, this is wonderful. And the healing, like, AoE healing is sweet. It's a pity it's wholly within 18, because your base sizes are huge and you're going to have, you know, whatever. But, yeah, that's cool. I dig it. I dig the explode. It's like Splatter Cleaver is like the inverse of what's that Bloodthirster, Insensate Rage, I think, where he hits and when he crits, it's like AoE Mortal Wounds is like the opposite, where the guy just blows up, but it AoE heals instead. That's cool. Then there's the Underguts Mawtribe, which is a name you should not think about for too long. And Thunderous Salva. Oh, could this be the Lead Belcher battalion that makes them good? Because the warscrolls certainly wasn't. You can use this command ability to start your shooting phase. If you do, pick a friendly Underguts hero. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of missile weapons used by friendly Underguts Iron Blaster units. Oh, Iron Blaster units. Oh, the Cannon of the Sky Titans. Okay. Wholly within 12 of the Underguts hero, you can use this command ability once per shooting phase. Cool, okay. So Iron Blasters get an additional shot. Gunmasters. Lead Belcher guns used by Undergut Lead Belchers units have a range of 18 instead of 12. Oh, okay. Okay. So your Lead Belchers start out terrible and become okay-ish. I'm hoping Iron Blaster starts out good and becomes competitive. So we'll see. We'll see how that one works. I would have rather had Lead Belchers start out good and be competitive in Underguts instead of start out trash and become okay. But, you know, you can't win them all. But whatever. Beastclaw Raiders Mawtribes. Let's go. Boulder Head Mawtribe. It looks like, I don't know, this reminds me of Svard's symbol, except it's not on fire. He's got horns instead. But this looks like the big the big tribe. Fearsome Breed. Add 1 to the wounds characteristic of friendly Boulderhead monsters. In addition, each Boulderhead hero on Stonehorn or Thundertusk, instead of only 1, can be given a mount trait. Oh, each! This isn't like pick 1 additional. This is all of your beasts have mount traits. Yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Because obviously this is what you want to do with Beastclaw, right? You just want 4 Frost Lords and then some cats. And just smash into everything, be counting as 10 wounds. A mount trait for all. Hopefully you can double up on the mount traits. Hopefully the mount traits are more Flesh Eater mount traits and less Anvil Guard mount traits. But you know what? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So far, I'm in. And then dig in your heals. You can use this command ability at the start of any phase. If you do, pick 1 friendly Boulderhead hero that has a mount until the end of that phase. Use the top row of that unit's damage table regardless of how many wounds it has suffered. So I would rather my command ability make me better, you know, instead of bring me back up to normal after a while. But it is a useful effect. I can't say that it's not. Also, it's any phase. I appreciate the fact that I can use this in the movement phase to suddenly get 12 inches of move instead of 4 or something. Like, that's being able to use this in movement so that you're temporarily fully healed and then like do a retreat run towards an objective or something. That's what I like about this one, because movement is king. And then there's the Thunderbelly's Mawtribe. Hailing from the sky roads of Chaman, these ogres crave reckless speed over brute force. This reminds me of the Olweir Alfrestun from the original book, where the Fang are running across the bridges and stuff at the top of the Jade Mountains or whatever. Swift Outflank. Friendly Thunderbelly's Fang pack units, wholly within 12 of the edge of the battlefield at the start of your charge phase, can charge even if they ran in the same turn. So, are we deep striking Mournfang now? It seems like we're deep striking Mournfang now, but maybe not. Because think about this. Let's say you ambush in Mournfang. Well, they didn't run. They were set up at the end of the movement phase. So you couldn't, like how I'm not sure I understand what they're going to do with this. Just from the name of it you think that they're ambushing in, and maybe they do, but it lets them run and charge, which they're not doing if they're ambushing in. I'm not sure what's happening with Swift Outflank. We'll just have to see. I like the idea of ambushing Mournfang. They don't fly, so they'll never be as good as like ambushing Morsar Guard in or something like that, because they can leap over chaff, and that's the whole reason they're good. Plus the shock. But still, it'd be a nice option. And then there's Shatterstone. Enemy units treat terrain features within 12 of the bearer. Oh, this is an artifact, the Shatterstone. Okay. So then there's an artifact, the Shatterstone. Enemy units treat terrain features within 12 of the bearer as having the deadly scenery rule in addition to any other scenic rules they may have. It's trash. This is hyper trash. So, yeah, Thunderbelly's Mawtribe, your artifact is 100% waste. Like it's almost worse than nothing. It's so bad. Yeah, because the deadly scenery rule is not deadly. It never happens. And when it does, sometimes your opponent even gets combos off of it. You really want to use an artifact for defense generally. Yeah, this is garbage. But anyway, that's fine. You can't win them all, right? And maybe some of their other abilities are good enough for your artifact to be a complete waste. So we'll see. Winterbite Mawtribe reminds me of Winterbite from one of the old clans. Ghosts in the Blizzard. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target friendly Winterbite units that are wholly within your territory. It's kind of neat early on. That's good. Protects you from shooting early game. Not bad. Howl of the Wind. You can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. If you do, pick a friendly Winterbite hero, friendly Winterbite Frost Saber units, and friendly Winterbite Icefall Yetis. Wholly within 12 of that hero can fight at the start of the combat phase. These units cannot fight again in the combat phase unless an ability or spell allows them to fight more than once. This is okay, or it's good, or it's real bad. And when you put the ball in the machine, it's going to plink around and land into one of those depending on who you're fighting. If you're fighting some other army that has strikes first, this is bad. Because wholly within 12, it's too hard for your hero to make it into charge combats and really maintain the hitting first, in my experience. And your opponent is going to be able to beginning of combat you on his turn, and not even this command ability can save you. If you're fighting somebody who has strikes last, then this can be good, because conceivably you'll be able to fight in the normal, phase, depending on how they FAQ this. And if you're fighting against somebody who does not have any strikes first stuff, then you can use it defensively for when you get charged and still attack first, which is kind of nice. You are playing a bunch of Frost Sabers and Yetis, though, which I was really hoping we would no longer have to do, because we were doing it simply because we had to. But there's got to be people out there who actually really like Yetis and Sabers, despite like what they look like. So cool. They had to make a whatever enclave or clan or tribe or whatever about this. Winter Touched. Add 1 of the wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Winterbite Frost Sabers and Yetis while they are wholly within. Okay, so in order to make your Frost Sabers and Yetis not just like time-wasting speed bumps, you gotta like Death Star around your general. Your general's a hunter, he lands, he's like surrounding himself with all these guys, and then it's kind of a little bit of a Death Star, I suppose. Frost Fang is your artifact. Pick 1 of the bear's melee weapons at the start of each battle round, roll a die on a 5-up, add 1 to the damage inflicted by attacks made with the weapon for the rest of the battle. The effect is cumulative. That's fun. It's no good, but it's fun. And there's plenty of room for no good but fun artifacts in the book, I think. You're going to get like +2 damage maybe out of this thing, if you're lucky, by the last final turn of the game. And it's probably going to be on a dude who's not very good anyway. So yeah, it's like not a good choice, but it's a fun choice. unlike Shatterstone, which is just like pure trash, and it could never be good. So very interesting. Look at all this information I have that I can't really comment too much on because we don't know the rest of the stuff yet, but it was just, I thought I would put out a reaction with the initial reactions to all this stuff. There seems to be interest in a combined reveal show with Doom and Darkness. So, yeah, look forward to that and some more videos in the future. So, final thoughts on Mawtribes, Ogres, and Beastclaw Raiders as we move into the weekend, and almost certainly everything will be revealed to us. As far as a book, yeah, I'm disappointed that I lost my book, and now I'm something else. But that's just how it is, you know? I'm disappointed in that, but I'm over it. Like, I kind of keep bringing it up for memes. I'm over it now, and just kind of ready to get into the mood of being excited, you know what I mean? The biggest disappointment for me so far is the fact that this is one of those books. So different AOS books seem to run on a different template. You have some type of books, and then you have other type of books, and then you have the type of book like Beasts of Chaos, like Sylvaneth, like now Mawtribes, where you have these big clans or groves or herds or something like that that pick your artifact for you, pick your trait for you, and give you something. And these are a terrible idea, and they're almost always disappointing. I think only Flesh Eater made it out alive, and it was only because their rules were just absurd in them. But generally speaking, what it means is you have all these artifacts and traits and stuff you get to pick, but then you don't get to pick them because you have to choose some grove with one ability, like just good enough so that it's an offer you can't refuse, and then leave all the choices and all the interesting decisions on the table. You know what I mean? And it's a real shame that Mawtribes as well has been cursed. Not just with the Everwinter, but we've been cursed with this awful template for books. So that sucks. The warscrolls I've seen so far haven't changed very much, and they needed not just like rewrites, they needed reimaginings, you know. And the ones I've seen so far have gotten really very little of that. There's some cool stuff in here. Capturing thing is cool. Hungry or eating is cool. New Stonehorn charge is cool. But man, there's a lot of trash. There's a lot of trash floating in this ocean. And nothing I've seen so far is in the same solar system as any ability, really, from pick off the top of your head the best 8 armies. 8. There's nothing terribly exciting competitively in this book so far, at all. And mostly it's just a bunch of question marks and things that like, well, this could be good with if we have this, or this could be okay if this happens, or even, you know, this might, I don't know. As always, you're only seeing a part of the puzzle, and things could roll in and warscrolls could come out and everything could change, so sky's not falling. But we're not seeing any high tides, or endless legions, or flesh eater feasts, or Slanesh summoning, or even Slanesh multiple hits, which is also a battle trait, or even Slanesh locus of diversion, which is also a Slanesh battle trait. We're not, you know, we're not seeing any Hallow Hearts, or, you know, basically go down the list of all the abilities that are really powerful in the game and really interesting. And yes, some of them are too good, but many of them are just really good, but not a problem. And I'm not seeing anything like that at all. And, you know, I've managed to go 3-2 a few times here with Beastclaw in its current state. There's no way that they're not improved by this book coming out. So in that respect, it's a good thing. But the number of matches I need to dodge, because there's a 0% chance of winning, is now starting to cast a shadow over my whole house. So A book that comes out that's on the real low end of the fat middle is, that's not where I was patiently waiting for all these years to get. Every year someone would ask me, if you had to choose between your book coming out next year or right now, what would you choose? And I always said next year because I want them to do a great job on it. I'm completely willing to wait if it comes out and it's so interesting and really good. And I waited a long time, and I don't know about this, man. I don't know about this. But as always, thanks to all my patrons. You guys are what keeps me in business, besides coffee and a burning passion to tell people my opinions, I guess. Stay tuned for the next one, which either will be mine or it'll be me and Doom and Darkness, both, on the same show, delving into the entire book when it's out. So it's going to be one of those two things. And possibly both, because I almost certainly will not be able to stop talking about it. I hope it's really exciting. Thanks for watching.